The University of Otago's Queer Support Co-ordinator is back at work preparing for the year. Queer Support provides non-judgmental support, information and resources for university and polytechnic students who are dealing with sexuality and gender identity issues. Neil Ballantyne joins us tonight to tell us about his role and his expectations for the year ahead. Good evening, Neil.
Good evening.
Now tell us a little bit about what it is that you do in your role for the OUSA.
Cool. Well, initially it's probably worth mentioning that the word queer, when we're using it as a reclaimed term. So obviously it's been used as an insult or as a derogatory term in the past, but we're transforming the power of that and using it as the most inclusive word we have to cover all forms of sexuality, sex and gender identities. That's gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, intersex, asexual, and the list goes on. So it's a very inclusive term. And within my role, I guess my activities are split between pastoral care and education and advocacy. So they're the two main areas that I work in.
What are some of the issues that students have to deal with in terms of sexual and gender identity?
I think there's a big perception out there that, with the likes of the marriage equality legislation and that kind of law out there, that a lot of the work's been done. Lots of people go, really? Is there still discrimination out there when I talk to them? But absolutely, many of the same issues that we've seen from 20 years ago are still very much present. So people struggle to come to terms with their sexuality. Some people are worried that they'll be discriminated against for it, that they'll lose family or friends. And therefore, coming out is still a major process for many people. And often it's happening when people are leaving home and coming to a place like university. So it's the environment where people are learning who they are about themselves and that kind of thing, and are ready to sort of face those questions. So that's the sort of things that we help people through.
What can your students offer those students that need help?
Well, we have a whole range of services, and they've increased this year because my role's gone from a half-time to a full-time position, so the university is really appreciating what we're doing and backing it financially, which is exciting. And those services include one-on-one pastoral care, so we'll have conversations with people who are working out sexuality, gender stuff, and talk them through it, talk about how to come out to family and friends, that kind of thing. We've also got a weekly support group which comes together to provide a safe space for these kinds of students. We go out and do training programs with staff and students and curricula also right throughout the university.
How did you get involved in the role?
Initially, as a student, I was volunteering there in my third year as an intern and was also part of the peer support program. And then, interestingly, after my first year working for a progressive Christian organisation, that went down to half-time after I'd left university, and so I needed a second job, and that's where I just naturally sort of fitted in together.
What are some of the highlights of the role for you?
Well, there's nothing more satisfying when you're working alongside someone who's initially been quite fearful and very unsure and very insecure about themselves, and then 6 months later down the track are, just buzzing on life and happy with who they are and being pleasantly surprised as well often when they come out, the response that they get. So that's always exciting.
What are some of the more difficult aspects?
Definitely when you see that real negative homophobic stuff which is still out there. And unfortunately, I still get people coming to my office who have been essentially disassociated from their family and friends because they've come out, they've been completely rejected, kicked out of home. That still happens.
What sort of events have you got planned for this year?
We've got some pretty exciting things happening. We will be doing our annual tea party, which is always much appreciated and well awaited. We'll be doing our Diversity Week events, which is a whole week of different events. And we'll also be working in with Dunedin Pride this year as well. So that's looking to happen in the second half of the year and as a citywide celebration of diversity.
OUSA Queer Support Co-ordinator Neil Ballantyne, thanks very much for your time.
Absolute pleasure.